The Blasés. And even though I'm the one who keeps getting up here to talk, I don't want anyone to think that I did this all by myself, because I didn't. There are a lot of people who helped put this together, and it could be argued did more than I did. And the one at the top of that list will be somebody playing a little later with his band, the Wooden Soldiers. Greg DeJesus, who he lives in Georgia now, and he was probably more involved in the logistics of the day and dealing with the bands and instrumentation and stuff like that.
Texting you and calling.
Texting me and calling me at all hours of the day and night with OCD nightmares
about last night.
Well, thank you for not texting me last night. So please welcome and give a hand to Greg DeJesus.
Thank you all. Thank you all. And I'm introducing actually James Longo, who was in a band called Hippopotamus. And Pat lives here in Jersey City, worked with Brad, and is an artist, a musician, a DJ. And I'm introducing him, and he's got some stories to introduce. So, hear it up for Pat.
The manuscript. So I got a weird phone call from Brad, which I guess all phone calls from Brad are weird. But I get a phone call and he's like, all right, I'm writing a book. I was like, okay, that's fine. And he's like, I want you to illustrate it. And I was like, okay. I was like, but, what's it about? I can't tell you. I was like, all right, is it about the music industry? I can't tell you. It just went on. We talked for almost an hour about it, and that was the last I heard about it. And then when Tom was up talking and he mentioned it, it was only the second time I'd ever heard about it. And I'm really curious to actually read this book that I never got to actually see. But I constantly have thought about it until, unfortunately, hearing the untimely passing of Brad. And I was like, I want to know what his book was, because he was easily one of the most interesting people I'd ever met in my entire life. And his lessons, people have been talking about him, but the importance of some of the stuff that Brad told all of us or taught us were pretty deep. One of the things that actually always impressed me was he had the giant box of the demo tapes. Right? So you weren't, and the rule was you weren't allowed to judge a band on one song. And this is actually a brilliant, brilliant thing that I think no one does. I'm a record collector. I drop the needle on a record and I just go boom, 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 go right through it. He was so offended by that. So you had to listen to 3 songs. That was the rule. You couldn't listen to one song. You couldn't develop. Your opinion meant nothing until the 3rd song. This kind of gets, well, also I wanted to mention the Humilitron. The Humilitron is why my band became an instrumental band, which I love. I always wanted to be an instrumental band, and I told the 2 guys in my band that they had to sing. Both of them had to sing. It was a trio, and it was like, all right, you guys, I'm the drummer, so I didn't sing. But, because singing drummers, no. Since they both had to sing, my favorite part was when Brad would then go like, all right, get ready, here comes Humilitron, and we all just kind of stepped back a little bit. So we became an instrumental band. But, so part of Brad's lessons were very important to just even the way, obviously, he followed a lot of these. And he told me the story about how he actually met Fish. And I don't know if I think most people seem to know the story from him dealing with Fish, but not the actual meeting of Fish. We were doing one of these listening sessions down, listening to, which he would only play us, by the way, Nick Drake records and Sandy Denny records, because you should all be very happy my band is still not together, because we're known for clearing rooms, not filling them. Extremely loud, just a lot of noise. which he seemed to love recording. He just, because as he said, hey, it's your money. So we were listening to probably something like the Grateful Dead or something like that, and it came up in a conversation. And he said, have I ever told you a story about how I actually got involved with Phish? And I was like, no. And he said, well, I was driving up to go see the Grateful Dead. He's like, and along the way, there are people constantly hitchhiking. And he picked up, I believe it's the lead singer guy. I don't know a lot about Phish. I asked Tommy earlier. Trey, right? Trey. So he is riding with this person to the show, and they're discussing the Grateful Dead. And this person is basically saying that his friends more or less told him that he should see the Grateful Dead. He had never seen the band before. And it was just, a lot of conversations about music and everything. They get actually to the where the show is. I don't know where it was at. And the guy says, look, I have no money to give you. I would love to give you money for gas, and even just for actually picking up and driving me here. So he says, but I do have my demo tape. And Brad says, I have a record label. And so they start discussing that he would like, whenever he takes a demo tape, his initial thing would be like, I want first right of refusal. No matter who the band was, didn't matter. I would see him do it in front of the clubs in the city. I've known Brad since the mid-'80s. And he would say to bands all the time, if you're gonna go your demo tape, you have to commit to the fact that you have to let me have a shot at it. He said he got the Phish tape, he went home and he started listening to it, and he was interested, and then he forced himself to do his 3-song rule. And after he got to the 3rd song, he immediately said, yes, this is something I want to be involved in. Another amazing point of Brad's lessons and genius was his finance background. So he took points on the Phish record. How we learned this was every morning when we were recording with him, he would go, all right, going to get smokes and my check. And he would say it all the time. So finally one day we were like, what the hell are you talking about? What is this check that you're going to get? And I'm just figuring, like all bands, and anyone here in a band, you receive those checks for like 13 cents. So I'm just figuring he's making a joke. And it turned out that no, he would go and pick up his check from his points that he had on the stupid Phish record. Their name is misspelled, by the way. I don't know if anyone ever noticed that. But anyway, so his lessons were amazing, and again, he would adhere to them. And I think a perfect example is that my band, became an all-instrumental band because the Millitron. I mean, he was making it very clear to everyone in the band, like, stop singing. He also, I think, we're the only credit he has on Discogs for a vocal, because on the song that we retitled, Shut Up, because he would have to constantly yell at us while we were recording, because we play our songs one into the next, and his violence of saying the word shut up just kept increasing. And when we were listening back to one of the tapes, it started out with, shut up! We were like, okay, that's where we're going. But anyway, I could go on for hours on Brad's stories and Wink's stories. Wink was my size, so I used to wrestle him a lot, which was a lot of fun. The other quick thing I wanted to mention too was if any of you ever used the Hammond organ and Leslie, we were the band that you could thank. I'm a former powerlifter and the bass player was a metal worker. And we got there one day and Brad said, yeah, this has been waiting for you. And we carried that thing up into the 2nd floor of that barn. It was insane. But anyway, that's really it. I just figured it kind of tied into a lot of his lessons that you definitely walked away with dealing with Brad. And kind of miss him a lot every day. Every time I think of another story. So, anyway.
funny thing about that Hammond B3 and Leslie cabinet, I think I helped Brad put that in the damn truck
Oh, right.
that didn't have a lift.
Right. It was, I never had picked up a Leslie cabinet before.
Nor had I.
It was heavier than the organism. Disturbing.
Yes. Once again, thank you all for being here. Has anyone noticed, has the race gone by yet?